The story opens on an ordinary morning at Lockwood Elementary, a small, unassuming school nestled in a quiet town where nothing extraordinary ever happens. The teachers arrive as usual, exchanging pleasantries in the staff room, sipping coffee and preparing for another routine day of lessons. The sun shines just as it always does, and the air carries the familiar sounds of the neighborhood. Birds chirping, a distant school bus rumbling, the occasional shout of an early arriving student. But then, something feels off. The first bell rings, yet the hallways remain eerily silent. No backpacks rustling, no laughter, no stampede of children rushing to class. The teachers glance at each other, puzzled. Maybe it's a delayed start, a forgotten assembly. Yet no announcements were made. Slowly, they step into the corridors, peering into empty classrooms. Desks sit vacant. Chalkboards are untouched. The playground outside? Deserted. A creeping unease settles in. The principal checks the attendance logs. Every student was marked present the day before. Phone calls are made to parents, but the responses only deepen the mystery. Yes, my child left for school this morning. I watched them get on the bus. They never came home. Panic begins to ripple through the staff. Where are the children? Did they ever arrive? The security footage is reviewed, and sure enough, the students are seen entering the building, backpacks bouncing, chatting with friends, completely normal, but the cameras never show them leaving. They stepped inside and simply vanished. No signs of struggle, no open doors or windows, no frantic 911 calls from inside the school, just silence. By midday, police swarm the building, searching every closet, every bathroom, every hidden corner. Nothing. The school, once filled with life, now feels hollow, as if the children had never been there at all. And the most chilling question lingers in the air, unspoken but deafening. How does an entire school full of children just disappear? The initial shock of the student's disappearance has hardened into a grim determination as authorities descend upon Lockwood Elementary. Police cars line the streets, their flashing lights painting the school's brick facade in alternating pulses of red and blue. Officers move in methodical patterns, their faces set in tight professional masks, but their eyes betray a flicker of unease. This isn't a typical missing persons case. This is something impossible. Detective Rebecca Voss, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for handling high-profile cases, steps into the empty school. The air inside is thick, not just with the sterile scent of cleaning supplies, but with something heavier, an almost electric tension, as if the building itself is holding its breath. The classrooms, once vibrant with children's artwork and the hum of activity, now feel like museum exhibits frozen in time. Half-finished worksheets sit on desks. A single pencil lies abandoned on the floor as if dropped mid-sentence. The first order of business is to scour every inch of the building. Officers fan out, checking lockers, storage closets, even the boiler room, places a child might hide or, worse, be hidden. But each search yields nothing. No signs of struggle, no torn clothing, no scuff marks, no traces of forced entry. It's as if the students simply dissolved into the air. Then comes the security footage. The school's cameras, though outdated, should have captured something. The team gathers around a monitor in the principal's office, the grainy black and white footage playing out in eerie silence. There they are, children streaming through the front doors, backpacks bouncing, some laughing, others groggy from the early hour. Everything looks normal. But then, as the last child crosses the threshold into the building, the footage continues with no one exiting, no back doors propped open, no fire alarms triggering a mass evacuation, just an empty hallway after 8:15 a.m. Outside, interviews with potential witnesses only deepen the mystery. The crossing guard remembers high-fiving a few kids as they passed. The bus driver swears every child got off at the school's stop. A neighborhood jogger recalls seeing the playground full one moment, then eerily still the next, but she can't pinpoint when or why. There are no screams, no commotion, no strange vehicles lurking nearby. Then, a breakthrough, or perhaps just another layer of the nightmare. In a first-grade classroom, a detective finds a single sheet of paper on the teacher's desk. It's a drawing, done in the crude, colorful strokes of a young child. The image shows a group of stick-figure students standing in front of a second school, one that looks almost identical to Lockwood. But the windows are dark, the doors are crooked, and looming above them is a tall, shadowy figure with outstretched arms. Scrawled at the bottom in uneven letters, "We have to go to the other school today." Detective Voss stares at the drawing, a chill creeping up her spine. What the hell does it mean? As the sun sets, casting long shadows through the empty halls, the investigation hits a wall. No ransom demands, no credible sightings, no evidence of a mass kidnapping. The only thing left is the suffocating silence of a school that should be filled with laughter and the unshakable feeling that whatever happened here defies logic. The case is no longer just a search. It's a descent into the inexplicable. As night falls over Lockwood Elementary, the investigation takes a turn from the perplexing to the outright unnatural. The initial shock of the student's disappearance has settled into a gnawing dread, and the school, once a place of learning and laughter, now feels like a hollow shell, its empty corridors pulsing with something unseen. Detective Voss remains in the building long after most of the officers have left, poring over every shred of evidence under the flickering fluorescence of the school's lights. The silence is oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of settling floorboards or the distant hum of a dying light bulb. It's in this heavy quiet that the first truly unsettling discoveries are made. In a third-grade classroom, a stack of papers sits neatly on the teacher's desk, as if waiting to be graded. But when Voss flips through them, she realizes they're not ordinary assignments. Each one is a drawing, crude, childlike sketches of the same recurring image. A tall, faceless figure standing at the front of the classroom, its limbs elongated, its presence dominating the page. In some drawings, the children are lined up before it, their stick-figure arms raised as if in worship. In others, they're being led single file through a door that shouldn't exist, a door drawn in the back wall of their own classroom, dark and gaping. Then there are the whispers. At first, Voss thinks it's her imagination, a trick of the wind, or the distant echo of officers still milling about outside. But the longer she stays, the clearer they become. Faint, hushed voices, too soft to make out words, drifting from empty classrooms. She follows them, her hand resting on her sidearm, but each time she pushes open a door, the voices stop. The rooms are empty. Yet the air feels charged, as if she's just missed something, or someone. Down in the school's basement, the custodian reports another oddity. The boiler room, usually locked, stands ajar. Inside, the walls are covered in handprints, small, child-sized, but they're not made of dirt or paint. When Voss runs her fingers over them, they come away damp, as if the prints were left by something wet, or something alive. The custodian swears he cleaned that room yesterday. There's no way he missed this. But the most chilling find comes from the school's lost and found. Tucked beneath a pile of forgotten jackets is a single worn notebook. Its pages are filled with the hurried scrawl of a child's handwriting, entries dated over the past month. The early ones are mundane, notes about homework, crushes, playground games. But as the dates grow closer to the present, the tone shifts. Mrs. Perkins keeps looking at the closet too long. I think she hears it too. Ryan said he had a dream about the other school. He said the teacher there knows his name. They told us we have to be quiet when the doors open. If you listen, you can hear them singing. The final entry, dated the morning of the disappearance, is just one sentence, written in shaky, desperate letters. I don't want to go, but the shadow says we have to. Voss shuts the notebook, her breath coming fast. This isn't just a case of missing children anymore. This is something else entirely. As she steps back into the hallway, the flickering lights cast long, wavering shadows against the walls. For a moment, just a moment, she could swear they don't match her movements. Something is still in this school, and it's watching her. The town of Lockwood had always been the kind of place that clung to its history, where old stories were passed down like heirlooms, whispered over kitchen tables and campfires. But as the investigation into the missing children stalls, Detective Voss finds herself digging through archives older than the school itself, and what she uncovers is a legend the town had tried to forget. The local library's basement is a cavern of yellowed newspapers and cobwebbed records, the air thick with the scent of aging paper and dust. Mrs. Driscoll, the elderly librarian whose family has lived in Lockwood for generations, watches with wary eyes as Voss spreads out brittle documents across a wooden table. The librarian's knotted fingers tremble slightly as she slides a faded photograph forward, a black and white image of a schoolhouse that looks eerily similar to Lockwood Elementary, but older, with a peaked roof and narrow windows. They called it Blackvale, Mrs. Driscoll says, her voice barely above a whisper. Built in 1889, burned down in 1935, with 27 children inside. The fire, according to the records, was no accident. A teacher, name redacted in the old reports, had locked the doors from the outside before setting the blaze. The official story claimed madness, but locals knew better. There had been rumors even before the fire. Strange lessons taught in the dead of night. Children whispering about a second teacher who wasn't on the payroll. And worst of all, the disappearances. Students who would vanish for days, only to return with no memory of where they'd been, their eyes hollow, their voices flat. They said the school was hungry, Mrs. Driscoll murmurs, tracing the edge of the photograph, that it wasn't just a building, that something lived in its walls. Voss scoffs at first. Ghost stories have no place in an investigation. But then the librarian produces a tattered diary, its pages brittle as autumn leaves. The entries are from a student who attended Blackvale in its final years. Mr. Harker says we mustn't speak of the other class, but I hear them sometimes through the walls. They sing our names. Ellie came back today. She was gone for 3 days. She doesn't blink anymore. The shadow teacher says we'll cross over soon. He says we'll never have to leave. The last entry is a single sentence, scrawled in frantic, ink-blotted script. The door is open. That same night, the fire consumed them all. Back at Lockwood Elementary, Voss stares at the modern school's blueprints, comparing them to the archived sketches of Blackvale. The dimensions are identical. The new school had been built directly atop the old one's foundation. And then, she remembers the children's drawings, the tall figure at the front of the class, the door where no door should be. A cold realization slithers down her spine. They never left. Detective Voss stands alone in the empty school hallway, the weight of history pressing down on her like a physical force. The fluorescent lights hum weakly overhead, their flickering glow casting long, trembling shadows that seem to shift just beyond the edges of her vision. She clutches the old diary in her hands, its pages whispering secrets from nearly a century ago, secrets that have somehow bled into the present. The air grows colder as she approaches classroom 3B, the epicenter of the children's final drawings. Her breath fogs in front of her despite the working heating vents. The door creaks as she pushes it open, revealing rows of empty desks, their surfaces still scattered with unfinished assignments and abandoned pencils. But something is different now. At the back of the room, where the children's drawings depicted a door that shouldn't exist, the wall is no longer blank. A dark outline stains the plaster, the faintest suggestion of a frame. The air around it wavers like heat rising off asphalt, distorting reality at its edges. Voss steps closer, her pulse hammering in her throat. She reaches out, and her fingers pass through the wall. A rush of frigid air engulfs her, carrying with it the distant sound of children's laughter. Not the bright, carefree kind, but something hollow, echoed, as if it's being replayed from far, far away. The classroom around her blurs, the colors leaching away until she's standing in a nightmare reflection of Lockwood Elementary. Peeling paint, warped floorboards, windows that show only darkness beyond. And then she sees them. The missing children stand in neat rows, their backs to her, facing the front of the classroom where a towering shadow looms over them. It has the shape of a man, but no true features, just a swirling mass of darkness that somehow smiles without a mouth. One by one, the children turn their heads toward Voss. Their eyes are glassy, their expressions blank. "You shouldn't be here," whispers a voice from behind her. Voss whirls around to see a woman in an old-fashioned teacher's dress, her face gaunt, her lips stretched too wide. Mrs. Perkins. But not as she was. This version of her is wrong, her joints moving at unnatural angles, her pupils dilated black. "They're happy here," the thing wearing Mrs. Perkins's face croons. "They never grow old. They never get hurt. The shadow teacher takes such good care of them." Beyond her, the real Mrs. Perkins lies slumped against a desk, her skin ashen, her mouth frozen in a silent scream. The children begin to chant, a nursery rhyme Voss doesn't recognize, their voices overlapping in a dissonant drone. The shadow at the front of the class stretches toward her, its form unraveling like smoke. She stumbles backward, through the doorway, back into her own world. The wall seals behind her with a sound like a dying breath. When the search party finds her at dawn, she's curled on the classroom floor, clutching a single child's shoe that wasn't there before. Her voice is raw from screaming. The official report calls it a breakdown. But on the anniversary of the disappearance, when the moon hangs low and full, the townsfolk swear they can hear singing from the empty school. And if you press your ear to the wall of classroom 3B at exactly midnight, they say, you can hear the shadow teacher calling roll. One day, he'll call your name. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.